Hello there everybody, and welcome to this feature presentation on YouTube. I am King Mac, your hamburger pal. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to enjoy a hot fresh cheeseburger along with some delicious golden french fries, a tasty milkshake, and a nice soft drink. Also be sure to grab some hot buttery popcorn while you're at it as you enjoy this episode of TTBurger Game Reviews on YouTube.
Hello my friends! Welcome back! You are watching TTBurger Game Reviews here on YouTube and I'm your host Tony. We're continuing with the final part of my Resistance series review, episode 254, part 3 of 3 parts. Before I get started here, I want to get shout out to Freakin' HD and Sub-Zero MNX for King Mac, along with Steph Hyperlamia, Brickles with Stateside, Griffin Puff, Megs, Black Healer, along with the homie RJ, Red Hood Assassin, Agujira, Rockstar Pool 69, The Sensational Jen, Joseph 22, and more and more and more. And we have a lot to talk about here for the final part of my Resistance series review. Before we even get started here, those of you missed what happened in episode 254, part 2 of 3. We got a TTBurger recap, Resistance style, show y'all what you missed in that part. I took a look at Resistance 2 for the PlayStation 3 and gave it an 8 out of 10 because it was a great first-person shooter, but a lot of the gameplay elements that made the first Resistance great were gone and replaced with like recharging health and everything like that, and two weapon system that make it feel more like Call of Duty Chimera style instead of a Resistance 2 and stuff like that. But the game still had a good story and it had fun gameplay, and those who like multiplayer, like 50 players online, but the server's been shut down, so it's nothing I can say about that. But those of you who are wanting more Resistance action, pick the game up because it's fun and you definitely not know what you're missing. But today we're going to zoom ahead to September 26, 2011. This was right after I graduated from college and it was approaching my 23rd birthday. We got the final game in the Resistance franchise, to non-spin-off wise. We got Resistance 3, starring Joseph Capelli. It's on September 6, 2011, for the PlayStation 3 exclusively. Now Resistance 3 is better than Resistance 2. Better, it is. But still, Resistance Fallen Man is the best game in the series, but Resistance 3 comes pretty close. It is the second best game in the franchise. Resistance 3 brings back a lot of gameplay elements that made Resistance Fallen Man original and memorable. There are some problems that make Resistance 3 come in second place to Resistance Fallen Man, but still a fantastic game, especially for those who are fans of the classic first-person shooter genre and stuff in the modern gaming and such. Resistance 3 brought back many of the gameplay features that made Resistance Fallen Man memorable. They brought back the health bar, no regenerating health this time. They brought back the weapon wheel, and you can keep all your weapons and more. Some things though, like the waypoints, are still here. The control scheme is like Call of Duty with how you sprint and do melee and melee attack with your weapons, which are a pain in the neck, but still a fun game to have in your collection of PlayStation 3 games and Resistance games. Let's get started here. The story of Resistance 3 takes place 4 years after Resistance 2, where the Chimera successfully conquered most of the United States. 4 years later, Resistance 2, Joseph Capelli was discharged from the Sentinels after he killed Sergeant Nathan Hill to end Resistance 2 because he was turning into a Chimera and only had little time left before he turned into a Chimera completely. Afterwards, Capelli met Susan Farley, Nathan Hill's adopted sister, and they had a son and married as well, and the son was named Jack. When the Chimera began to take over, Joseph Capelli and his family take refuge in Oklahoma with the remaining survivors of the human race. Capelli learns from Dr. Fyodor Malakov, who was in the Resistance 2 and didn't really talk about him much, that there was a wormhole opened by the Chimera in New York. That is a part of the Chimera's plan to freeze the Earth and will render it uninhabitable for humans, and humanity will be wiped out for good. Capelli refuses at first because he wants nothing to do with the Chimera, but his wife Susan tells him to reconsider because their son Jack is too weak to survive. So Capelli makes his way to New York and put an end to the Chimera, and that is where the story goes from here. It is a great story. There's no Nathan Hale. When we play as the guy who killed Nathan Hale, similar to playing as Abby in The Last of Us Part 2, but this is different though. I know that there's no comparison, but just hear me out here. Joseph Capelli killed Nathan Hale because he was infected by the Chimera virus, and he was going to turn to Chimera no matter what. So he did the right thing by executing Nathan Hale. Abby killed Joel because she believed that Joel killed her father with Lee, but this is off topic though, I'm just making a comparison. LOL. The story is good, but I do have a problem, and that is with Joseph Capelli in Resistance 2. He was a gruff, angry asshole who killed Nathan Hale, and in this game he's a completely different character who's, yeah, sure he's more likable, but just seems strange because now he seems like a weak guy. And sure he has a heart this time. It's not gruff and ruthless, but here he's just weak at times. He feels totally different here. And also, this feels like kind of a Call of Duty storyline once again. This is Fall Man to the best with a History Channel like documentary style. Sure, Resistance 3 story is not as much as... Sure, it is kind of in Resistance 3 story, but not as much as Resistance Fallen Man, but still a great story, just, you know what I mean. With Resistance 3's presentation, the graphics are good, not the best looking graphics, use the Resistance 2 graphics engine, and while they look good, but around this time the graphics were starting to show its age. They still look detailed enough though, great looking character models with very detailed facial expressions, and the cutscenes look the best. Lots of detail to them even though there is like a motion blur going on in the cutscenes sometimes, but they still look great. Same with the gun models, look very detailed, and the new weapons here look fantastic. The environments all look great, but some of them have a linear feel to them. It's just, I don't know why, they just do with some of them. But the explosion and weapon effects are amazingly detailed and well done. But we have another issue here. The frame rate is not stable. It can slow down when the action gets hot, and it can slow down badly. And also there are a host of bugs as well, which I'll get to in the gameplay, but we'll talk about that later. But overall, it is a good looking game. The sound of Resistance 3 is excellent. The voice setting is fantastic. Even though Joseph Capelli is voiced by a different actor, he is the best part of the voice acting. Joseph Capelli this time is voiced by English actor Robin Atkin-Downes, who honestly I like him better, and he fits Capelli really well. Other actors do a great job too, probably the best part of the voice setting in the 3 games. The music is still on the generic side a little bit, but I like it for some reason. Just Resistance did not have the best soundtrack in the trilogy. The weapon explosions and etc. all sound excellent. Resistance 2's gameplay is fun, better gameplay than Resistance 2. Here they brought back some of the gameplay elements from the original Resistance Fallen Man, such as the weapon wheel and the health bar and the health packs. All the weapons here are back from some new ones that shoot out electricity. You get a warhammer and stuff like melee attacks and more and more. You can also upgrade your weapons too by killing a certain number of enemies, and when you get maxed out to level 3, it'll come in handy to take the enemies down. There are 20 chapters, ranging from escorting person safety, destroying a generator or object, or taking a vehicle down with your rocket launcher, and more. And they definitely delivered here. Even you have multiplayer and cooperative play too, but I know nothing about it. I didn't play the multiplayer, so. But now we got the negatives. There are a lot of bugs and glitches in this game. Some of them are like can affect the game. You'll have to die to get rid of these glitches. There are some glitches here I see where characters or NPCs will clip through walls and run into a wall and they just keep running. And sometimes, like when enemies die, they'll still be standing up as if they're still alive. And there could be some screen tearing in here as well. And there's no vehicles to drive. The game is pretty short. It can be beaten in about like 8 hours. Some of the levels are very hard due to the enemy AI being very difficult. There's like a balance issue here. Like the difficulty is like very all over the place. And the way it puts the controls can make it more like Call of Duty, but it's not as bad as Resistance 2. The graphics are not the best. The frame rate issues can be there too, and the music is a little generic side, but that's still all I gotta say about it. Final thought: if you enjoyed the other 2 Resistance games, Resistance 3 should not disappoint at all. It's definitely worthy of closing the Resistance trilogy. I give it a 9 out of 10 because of the problems I have with it, but Resistance 3 should not be overlooked if you want some more first-person Resistance classic shooter action. And that's it for episode 254 of my Resistance series review. I know I left out the 2 spin-offs on the PSP and the PlayStation Vita, but I don't do portable gaming and I don't care for spin-offs, so that's what I'm saying there. Next up, we'll have episode 255. What will we cover next? You have to find out, which all I gotta say, if you'd like to see her, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down below, click on the links to join my Discord group, TTBurger Gamers Tonight, along with my Facebook group, TTBurger Gamers Group, and my Facebook page called TTBurger 8, and just, if you have requests for games for me to review, just comment down below. Which all I gotta say is Tony, peace and out, have a great day, see you all in the next episode. Take care, everybody.